Hello and welcome to Friday with the Chakontas. I am Mr. Chakonta
And I'm Mrs. Chakonta.
and we're back with FWTC Reacts.
Yes,
This is called
the red
Flag Edition.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is our second episode on the red flag edition.
Yeah.
Thank you to those who've been listening and following us and liking our social media platforms. We really, really appreciate it. If you're new, welcome. Please don't forget to like this, share it to others, and you can find us on YouTube Music, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yes. We're all on your digital media platforms where you listen to podcasts and anything, you'll find us.
Yes.
Either through Friday with the Chakontas or FWTC podcast.
Awesome.
So are we gonna explain the rules again?
Yes, I think it'll be good since it's our second.
I think maybe you need to explain the rules because last time I explained the rules just to see if you understand them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, we're going to read out a very quick scenario. And from that scenario, we want to see if there are any red flags or, so if there are any red flags or whether you say it's a green flag means like there are no problems. It's there's nothing wrong with the scenario. It's okay. Amber, it's like you're in between. And then red is like, ding, ding, ding. This is an absolute no. Like this is a no and should not be happening. Something needs to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, those are the rules of the game.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll go on with our first scenario.
All right. So our first scenario, these are not real people. So our first scenario is Karen and Mike have been married for 12 years. Mike has a problem with alcohol and often comes home drunk, which leads to arguments and sometimes physical altercations. Karen feels scared and doesn't know how to handle the situation.
What flag did you give it?
Oh, that's a complete red.
Red flag.
Yes.
Red flag, but I need more information because I think I'm asking why is this something that has been going on for a long time? Because they've been married for 12 years.
Yeah.
So how have they handled it in the past?
That's true.
I'm asking you.
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't tell us. So
yeah.
It could be that this is something that's been going on for a long time and she's just gotten to the point where she's like, I've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be something new. But regardless of when it started, the current situation it's a red flag. It should not be happening.
I agree it's a red flag in the aspect of his drinking problem.
Yes.
Other people have a different view on what's this, but from a biblical perspective, we're saying, okay, this is a definite red flag for drinking problem.
Drinking to get drunk. It's okay to drink, but not to get drunk. And he's getting drunk.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Simplicity. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And then here, the physical altercations are the basic, based on the arguments they're having, or is it? What do you think?
No, it is because he says he comes home drunk and then they start to have arguments and then that escalates to physical fights.
Okay, I see.
So I think regardless if there was no physical fight, it's a red flag. If there was no alcohol, the fact that there's physical fights is a red flag.
Do you think it's the red flag just on him or just the whole relationship?
I think the getting drunk is a red flag on him. The physical altercation, because here it doesn't explain. It could be, who's the initiator. It could be that she's the initiator or he's the initiator. And usually when someone tries to fight you, one of the automatic things you do is fight back. So it seems like they're fighting. Yeah. So I don't know if who starts. From the way it reads, it suggests that he starts it. But I don't think, I don't think so. It just says it leads to physical fights. Yeah. So I don't know who starts the fights, but who starts the actual physical fights, but we know that the fact that he's drunk seems to lead to the fights. Yeah. But when it comes to the actual physical altercations, it sounds like, the actual fight itself, he starts it. But then at the end, it says she feels scared and doesn't know how to handle the situation. So I don't know if she's scared because of the physical violence.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say like if it's from the angle of where he's been abusive because of his drinking and now it's led to an aspect of where she's being beaten on and then she now feels scared. I think, that's wrong. and that's a red flag. And I think that's something that she needs to be very careful in those situations. Because again, another thing is, I don't understand why she's arguing with somebody who's not mentally. Would you say mentally stable, or just
No, they're not in the right their usual
state of
frame
mind?
of mind.
Yes.
Like when someone's drunk, they you know, it makes you do things. It's not that it's like you're more likely to do certain things that you wouldn't usually. So your ability to inhibit certain things is reduced, or to stop yourself from doing certain things is reduced.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to do things that you wouldn't usually do because you have that ability to stop yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's two. So we can start it from the beginning because we know that completely it's a red flag. And if they're having physical altercations, let's say she's starting it or he's starting it, it doesn't matter. That's a red flag. And there needs to be an element of separation.
Yeah.
How that, and then, but so that's an element of separation. So I wanted to kind of start that at the beginning, but from the actual beginning of the scenario, you know, he's got a drinking problem. So that needs to be addressed. Yeah. So the why is he drinking so much? Yeah. Because it sounds like there are a lot of reasons why people drink. So there's stress is one of them. Sometimes it's just out of habit and it's the norm. But there's a lot of reasons why men drink. In this scenario, I'm talking about men and obviously women, and then it becomes an addiction. Yeah. So drinking can start off as just something that you can do and control, but then it leads to a part where you now have an addiction that needs specialist input and advice and treatment and rehabilitation. So if it sounds like he has a drinking problem, that needs to be addressed. And it's not just about, okay, you have a drinking problem, you're an addict. It's also understanding what is for making that person drink. Some people have been through trauma. Some people have been through a lot. Some people, life is not working out, and the best way for them to try and, you know, minimize that is through alcohol, because then they can forget about things. So addressing the cause of his drinking problem, as well as addressing the actual fact that he's actively drinking excessively.
Yeah, but how do we address this? Because I think sometimes we oversimplify that some addictions, we always look at it from the aspect of a medical perspective than a spiritual perspective. Do you agree with that?
Explain, please.
Because I feel like some of these things are like these addictions, there is also a spiritual connotation on it, and saying of we are broken, and because of brokenness, we'll always try to find a vice that tries to fill this brokenness within us. And through that, we are trying to address, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong from the medical side of we have to deal with this from a medical side, but I feel like it's incomplete if we don't deal with it from the aspect of how do we deal with man's brokenness. Because we'll be always trying to find, from a medical side, we'll either give you drugs or to say help you suppress this. We're just managing it. We're not really dealing with the disease. We're just dealing with the symptoms. And I think there are certain aspects of where we go through a lot of things in our life that I feel there is also an aspect of where we have to say this is also spiritual. Even I may be ignorant on this, but I also think like I understand mental health better with time, but I also understand there's also a spiritual battle that we are also facing as we go through mental health. Yeah. But I also think there are also sometimes where like sometimes on the aspects of the spiritual side, people will just view it as spiritually and not look at it as medically. And we'll always be saying we'll just pray and do ABCD like that, but somebody is actually deteriorating and it's not helping them. They're not functioning. And we're saying we have to have a balance of both, because I think God has given us the balance of both. Yeah. Do you agree with that or disagree?
No, I agree. I think there's definitely two elements. And I think when addressing mental health, it's not just the medical side. You're right. There is a spiritual element as Christians towards it. It's not just relying on the medication. It's not just relying on and it's the same thing, even if it's just not mental health, even on physical health, like you've broken a leg. Yes, you're going to take medication. Yes, you might go for surgery, but that's not it. You're going to be praying for healing. So I do agree that there are two parts to it. And the most important thing is the God part, is the spiritual element. It's the prayer, because it is through that God can give you wisdom in how to deal with certain situation. It is through that you understand that God is the one who has provided these doctors, these nurses, these physiotherapists, these surgeons, all of these people to help me. It is through that you realize that God has given man wisdom to be able to create medicine to help us. So the ultimate healer, the ultimate way you what you need fully, or like the thing that's at the top is God, and it's the spiritual side. It's the word of God.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that you should neglect the other things that God has placed in your life to help you. So that's rehabilitation, that's counseling, going for counseling, going for to rehab, taking medication that can help with addiction. So there is that is how I would look at it. So I agree with you.
Yeah. And just as we're reading the story, like I had it, I think just even before we got married, not before, but like sometime as we're having this debate with some guys, and I was saying, does domestic violence in a home equate to better or for worse?
I don't mind. Oh, sorry. That's just like some Zambians way of saying, oh, juicy topic. So yeah. So answer. What did you guys say?
We didn't have an answer.
Because that's not, the honest truth is we are not given what is for, we're not given the bullet points of what is better and what is worse.
Yeah.
But domestic violence is worse, right? It is the worst.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is something about domestic violence that I think has also there's two elements. There's a part where it happens and you both recognize that it's wrong, and then you both recognize that you've sinned and you're not going to do it again, right? And it doesn't happen again. But there's also a part where that's been said and then it happens again.
Yeah.
And then there's also a part which I think is where it's not safe. And I think that's the bit where I think there's a lot of people who are married and have undergone domestic violence or undergoing domestic violence. Yeah. Right. And I think, and the law has made it clear that this is illegal. This is not something that you should be doing in a marriage. And I think at least we also have the law to protect us in a sense of, we know that, the Bible also encourages us to listen to the law. So I think my personal view, which I don't think it's, I don't know, is saying if there is domestic violence, you can separate, if that makes sense. So, but that is not grounds for divorce, but you can separate. And again, that same issue where I have of you can't remarry someone else. You just have to accept that is somebody who you were married to, but you can't live together.
What do you mean by separate?
As in, you need to get out of that. Because the thing is, babe, you need to get out of that house. Yeah. Or he needs to get out of the house. It doesn't. In this scenario, we don't know who's. It's the man physically, emotionally. I think he's also being abusive because he's bringing up fights whenever he's drunk. Yeah. So there's probably an element of emotional abuse. Yeah. But when you're not safe in your own home, this is why sometimes I think because it's such a grey topic in a Christian world, I think, and we don't talk about it as much as I think we should, that these things can lead to significant things where people have died, where children have died, where wives have died, where husbands have died, because we have, that this man, you've seen him, that this man can kill you. Yeah. That this woman can kill you. Yeah. That this man can kill your children. Yeah. And you've been seeing it, and this person is being physically violent towards you. You have the law. I feel like because you have the law to protect you. Yeah. So I do feel like you can separate. And what I'm saying is not saying, and I know the law, because the law allows you to divorce for different reasons. Yeah. But domestic violence was never written in as a reason for divorce. But I do feel strongly that you cannot stay in a marriage where you're being beaten up every day, even if it's not every day, you're being beaten up, you're scared, someone is abusing you, and you can't, you can't, it's the same situation where, let's say, you live in a because I feel like this is a bit, you live under a mother and father and and for some reason there's different types of abuse that might be going on in that home.
Yeah.
And you do have the opportunity to leave. But you're like, no, because my mom and dad have said no. And the Bible says, honor your mother and father. So I'm going to stay. Do you get what I mean? So I feel like sometimes it's not so clear cut, but wisdom will help you. So if you're in a situation where you are being abused in a marriage, this is why you have, I would encourage you to speak up. And I think this is why it's so hard and it's difficult. It's embarrassing. You feel like maybe you failed. You feel like, oh, I can't go anywhere. I think it's a really tough topic. It is a really. I don't think we don't have a clear cut answer, but I also don't think that it's not safe for you to be in a home where a man or a woman is physically, or let's not just say physically, is abusing you.
I agree with where you're going from, but I think personally, I look at it from this stance and saying that if you are in community with other people, especially with people who you can speak into your life, and I think it brings a big weight on your leadership in your local church or just family members, because I think with that, at least there's not that blank page of where because like sometimes where some people like, oh, he hit me once or he hit me twice, I'm leaving. Or something like that. Or maybe there's something where have you tried also other mechanisms of trying to bring you guys together and trying to see why is this brewing up? How can they counsel you? How can they chastise you? If a man is being violent, why is he being violent to you and telling him, no, this is not the best way for you to behave in this particular way? And try maybe it goes on church discipline or something like that, or find a way of how to manage these things before, I don't know, where we run to separation or I think maybe after some time you'll end up saying, okay, and this is dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't know where that breaking point is. And I think this is why it's blurry, because I don't want to say stay in something and then it becomes so heavy and then the person dies. And then we're saying we should have taken that person out earlier. And then now there's a level of guilt.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there's these things that there has to be God's wisdom in dealing with these situations.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think these are very blurry points that you have to be able to have the wisdom from God to be able to say, okay, you know what, how can we manage it to the best of our ability? And God gives us the wisdom that we can address this. Divorce on the sense, I don't know. What do you mean by separation?
No, I just mean we may not be divorced in a to be honest, we'll probably live like we're divorced, but we may not be we haven't signed divorce papers. But I've gone to find my own way, you've gone to find your own way. And maybe through that we might reconcile. But okay, but we've gone, I've basically left or you've left, and you're like, living in this house is not safe. You're separating yourself from the situation, and you're going to another place where you need time to think, you need time to pray, and you need space, and you're not in a place where the situation is ongoing. And I think sometimes separating yourself is good, because usually it's hard when it it's if you're going through abuse in a relationship, it's usually the people that it's not it's easy to leave someone that you don't love. It's easy to just be like, I'm going, there's nothing here. But when you now love this woman or you love this man and you have children, it is not an easy situation to walk out of. But I think you should take time out separately and reevaluate what's going on. And if this man is remorseful, this woman is remorseful, that's different. But I think this is where the community comes in to help you analyze the situation, because you might be blind, you might not see certain things. And I think the people in the situation sometimes might have a softer spot. They might not sometimes also see the danger, but people are like, no, from what we've seen, it is not safe for you and the children to be in this house. Your children something traumatic can happen. Something, you could lose your lives over this situation, living in this house. You've been, so, based on, I think this is where I'm agreeing with you about the community. And I think maybe my thing is not to keep quiet, not to keep it to yourself. If that's something that is happening in your home, is to talk to someone trustworthy, talk to your church.
Yeah.
So that you can have some people who are wise to counsel you and to guide you. Because ultimately, I think it's okay to, sometimes when we're doing this podcast, we've got quite strong views in particular, like in particular situations and scenarios. But I think in this one, I think it's okay for us to be able to say, for me to be able to actually just say, I don't know. And for us to, and we're both saying, I don't know what is the real deal. But what we can agree on is speak to somebody, and if it's not safe and you don't feel safe, separate.
Yeah, and I think also maybe separation for some time is, I'm not saying get divorced, but we're saying maybe taking yourself out of the situation just for a bit can also ease those ways of how to just reduce the tension between you two, and maybe see how you can get together and all that stuff. And but these are hard things, because sometimes even like you just have to have God's grace in these situations, because these are hard.
Yeah.
Because I'll never, I think I'll never have a blank statement of just do it, just leave. I also never have a blank statement of where I would you gotta stay.
Yeah.
These are things that you have to really sit down and ask for God's wisdom on these situations. And if anybody disagrees, I would love to hear your disagreements on this, because sometimes people will just be like, maybe we're just taking this lightly.
Yeah.
And we're not giving the weight that it needs. But I think what we're saying, we're trying to be as biblical as possible.
Yeah. And it's really hard when you don't have a particular scenario.
Yeah.
Because everybody's scenario is different. Everybody's physical altercation is different.
Yeah.
So I think maybe for one couple, we might say, I think this is really dangerous. You got to get out of this situation.
Yeah.
Another couple, we might say, you need to separate for some time.
Yeah.
Another couple, we might say, okay, what's going on? Okay, it seems like this only happens when he's drunk, for example. Let's say this only happens when he's drunk. What are the things that we could do? So it's say, and I think you raised it. You brought it up and say, why are you talking to somebody who's drunk? And I think that is a situation. You're like, okay, if he's drunk, just is there a possibility you can just ignore him and not talk to him? Because clearly you can see that when he's drunk, you guys argue, and this leads to this. There's a clear pattern.
Yeah.
So when he's drunk, just don't talk to him. When he tries it, ignore him. But I know that some people, when they're drunk, they want you to, answer me. And that, provoking you. Yeah. But maybe that is one of the things that you got to work on, is just saying, I'm not talking, I'm not opening my mouth.
Yeah.
He's drunk, I'm not talking to you. We'll talk tomorrow when you're sober. You lock the door, you mind your own business. If that's possible. But I know that, it's easier said than done in a sense of, some people are like, you got to talk. And maybe that's how the physical altercation even starts, where, he's like, no, you got to talk to me, and physically grabs her or something like that and tries to force her.
Yeah.
And I think, you seem that you wanted to say something else.
Yeah, but I think the thing that we probably need to look at through this statement is her fear is something that we need to take seriously.
Yeah.
And we have to say, we can't just isolate and try to say, do this and that and that's this, but the fear aspect of it is something he's doing is making her scared. And I think this is something, even when they're
that's true.
being
Back to the actual scenario,
if they're being counseled about this situation, they have to be, this has to come out in the counseling process of saying, what you are doing is not showing love to this woman, and it's actually making her feel scared in this atmosphere.
And I think in this situation, I would advise to leave, because we're going back, because I think we were talking in general in terms of like physical abuse in a relationship. But in this scenario, I would, because I feel like there's something about the way we've been created. There's emotions. When you're fearful, when you're angry, when you're anxious, we have so many emotions that are leading to different things. In this situation, it's really difficult, because you need to understand him and you need to understand her. You need to understand the trajectory. But the thing is, it's not, and I don't mean leave in a sense of you need to leave and not come back. I mean, sometimes it's better to leave and work through things separately. And I think this is somewhere where probably this could be worked through separately. Rather than saying, okay, you're scared, you can't even talk to, there's a level when you're being abused, there's a level, there's a different type of fear. There's a fear, even when you see this guy, your heart is racing. Even because that is telling you you're not safe in this place. And yes, you might want to work on your marriage, but probably better to work on this separately. Are you with me? Do you get what I mean? Like, you go somewhere safe. Find a safe place to be, because drinking also is not something that people can easily just say, today I've stopped drinking and that's it. It's a process. And a lot of people, once they've stopped, there's a high risk of them relapsing and going back to alcohol again. So he has something that needs to be dealt with, and probably most likely she also has things that need to be dealt with. Right? It's not always one person. So but if she's feeling unsafe, she's in a situation where every time she's seeing him, she's scared. This is happening every night. You don't know the night that you're gonna have something and something bad, a fight, and something bad is gonna come out of it. And that's the thing, we don't know the full details. But in this situation where it's come to a point where she no longer feels safe, I think that is an instruction. Because there are times where, although you've had a physical altercation, you're just like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm at home. I'm fine. Yeah, if he tries it, I'm just gonna batter him. Like, I'm not saying you should, but there are times where you still have that confidence. But I feel like your body is trying to, when you now start to live in fear, your body is trying to tell you something. These are warning signs. These are like alarm bells. These are the red lights which are ringing. Get yourself somewhere safe and then deal with it.
And like we're saying, you would advise on this situation, as in she should come out of the situation. And my advice would be, I think this is something maybe she should consider and try to see how best they can handle it in separate spaces, and see how they can deal with this.
Sorry, continue.
And that's what we're saying. Like, you need. That's why I think when one of the things, as you are getting married, don't just get married for the sake of just either getting married, but also don't get married with the sense of not understanding the community that you have, or even when you're looking for a church, don't just go for a church based on, I'm going to a church just on, I want to be filled in a particular way emotionally. I want to feel A, B, C, D, and they're not things that you're being challenged. And you know that if something had to come in our life, don't be just an aspect of where we're just going to show face. Because if something had to come into our life, how do people who are there can speak into our life in the best possible way? Because these things can happen. A lot of things are happening in this world where, even let's say, for example, let's just deal with the aspect of his drinking. Maybe it's just something that a bad habit that he's just developed, maybe because he's lost his job or something like that, and all those things. But we're not trying to say that it's right, because it's sinful. What he's doing is sinful. He's getting drunk, and he's actually now doing other things. This also now needs to come a point of where he has to understand what he's doing is wrong, and he has to be repentant. Maybe he has to go through church discipline just to help him understand the gravity of this situation. So anything you want to add?
I was just saying that there's a lot that can come out of this, like, because we don't know, we just have a few sentences, we're just assuming, so we don't know the actual full scenario. So, like, for example, you don't know whether she might be the reason why he's getting drunk, because not that it makes it okay. Like, you have control over your own body. You make the decision. Someone may upset you, but you ultimately have the choice to say, I'm going to deal with it through alcohol, or I'm going to deal with it through drugs. I'm going to deal with it through physical violence. At the end of the day, you can't blame someone for your actions, right? But if it's a situation where maybe she's just a nightmare to be living with. And the guy is just like, I can't. You talk constantly. You undermine me. You swear at me all the time. You don't respect me. I can't. I'm stressed. Work is stressful. This is how. But again, these are just situations where I'm saying that means she also has something to work. To work through. Not to say he doesn't. What he's doing is okay, but it means whilst they're separated, it's something that they're working through. And even that separation it's a situation where you gauge, you discuss the two of you. Okay, not the two of you, like with other people around, where, okay, how are we doing this? And he will most likely need support, if possible, in terms of if he wants to give up drinking and, he's really trying. But there's some people who generally, sometimes, and you can't make him reach that stage where he wants to give up drinking. He has to decide himself, I want to give up. And once somebody has decided they want to give up, it's easier to work with them. Now, when you're now forcing him to give up, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of possible scenarios around it, and a lot of possible reasons to why he's drinking, and some of these things are things that maybe you can help with, or you can work on, you as the woman can work on. But ultimately, if somebody is doing that is a decision they're making to go take alcohol, drink, get drunk, and then they now don't have control over how their emotions. But I would just say, yeah, everything that we've said, community, speak up, and get yourself somewhere safe whilst you're trying to deal with this, and understand where you want the marriage to go, depending on how he's behaving. Yeah.
And I think also whoever is listening to this and maybe they're triggered about these things, there are also other aspects of where there are places of where you can seek for help.
Yes.
In these situations, just go on the internet or anything like that. And what do you, any other place you'd recommend?
Yeah, what I'll do is we'll put some links in like underneath, because that's true. What we have talked about can trigger a lot of thoughts and a lot of things, and can reach to people in different ways in different countries. So we'll put some resources underneath, some websites that you can go to, some numbers that you can call. Obviously sometimes it's difficult to talk to family and the community, even church. Sometimes these people, as hard as it is to say, sometimes these people are leaders in church, and you're just like, oh, how do I even approach this situation with these people at church when this is somebody who is like the head of this at church? How do I even speak to anybody? But there are non-profit organizations, or just organizations that are not affiliated with your partner or yourself, that you can actually talk to, and they will help you.
Yeah. So anything you want to add? Here we go.
No, I don't think so. I hope please let us know your thoughts and what you think, or what how else to approach it. It is a very sensitive topic and a very difficult one. And I think the conclusion from Timelo and I is, the honest truth is, we don't really have an answer. We don't know. I think it is topic by situation by situation.
And sometimes it's not even you who's going through this. Maybe somebody, a loved one who's going through this, and maybe I said we're not giving it as much importance as we should give it. Maybe people have got these hard lines and saying, you have to be more critical on this situation. But we're saying like, look, we have to take it situation by situation. That's the honest truth.
Yeah.
And this is why we need a lot of wisdom. There's just some things that we there's no framework.
No, we don't have.
And because there's no framework, we have to now seek God for the wisdom to help us understand how to deal with this situation.
Yeah. So, there isn't a biblical framework, but it is the law has a framework. It's illegal. So it's something that you can report to the police. You are encouraged to report to the police, and that is still something good to do.
Yeah.
But I know that it's sort of one of those things where it's easier said than done, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who can sort of understand in that sense based on the different scenarios that we've come across. But yeah, it's left it's a tough one because it's left us still like a bit and at ease where you're just like I don't really know, but let God guide us.
So I think this will be the time where we'll come to the end of our episode. Like we always say, we're thankful for everybody who listens to this podcast, who encourages us, and who continues to subscribe and share. And what else? Like, and we're also happy for all those things and the encouragement for people who frequently come back. We're thankful. That shows that and that you're enjoying the content, and for that we are actually very, very grateful for that. Anything else?
No.
All right, then take care, and then would like to say bye bye until next time. God bless and take care. Bye.
Bye.